What's up, everyone? My name's Jag, and I'm just another guy trading. And I've got a trade recap video for you today. I'm going over last Wednesday trade I made on futures, and this would be Wednesday, March 15th is when I made this trade, and we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and mostly the bad and the ugly. There was a little bit of a saving grace to this trade, so I'm going to go over it. As you know, at this point, I use these videos as a trade journal, so I can go back over them and just listen to myself kind of talk things out, see where my head was at, see, why I did what I did, and how I can improve in the future. So to get started here, this is ES in the morning. And you can see this big green box was a demand zone drawn on a higher time frame. And then I had another zone drawn on a smaller time frame. Basically, this is an intraday box from earlier in the week. And you can see that we had a sell-off due to news catalyst of collapsing banks. So on the pre-market session, we sold off pretty hard. And then right here at this 8:30 candle, we had PPI data. And data had been causing a lot of back and forths. Even, CPI moves the market more than PPI, but you never know. So at 8:30, and also in my head, there was a lot of setups going back to the previous week before market open that you could take on futures. And I just didn't put any risk on before market open, and I missed a lot of moves. And that's something that I've had success with before, is sort of playing futures before the market open and catching the move before it starts. So I didn't want to miss out today. And right off the bat, I can say one of the things that I did wrong was trying to get into a trade and wanting something to happen. And at 8:30, you can see this candle came right up. So first of all, this is about a 10-point gap between this demand zone and this small intraday zone. And I had a key level right here on SPY that I really wanted a rejection on. This is a 387.5 on SPY. Super respected level, all kinds of confluences. I wanted this rejection. But I also knew data was bullish, so I thought it would at least drive us into this zone, which it did on the first candle. And I got a little bit excited because I saw that candle wick into that zone, and I ended up entering a long position right at the end of that candle. And this candle was so strong, and then in the last 8 seconds, it came right down to form like an inverted hammer and then continued to sell. So it was a terrible decision to enter a trade here. I mean, my trade plan should have been the bottom of your demand zone, take profits into the next zone, stop loss below the zone. Right? Simple. But I'd seen it already tested the bottom of the zone, so I didn't think it was going to test it again. I thought it would just push back up real fast. And obviously that's not what happened. Unfortunately, that's what I wanted to happen more than anything, and I entered the trade. I wanted to get a quick green trade with just a little bit of a cushion when the market opened, and then I would take the rejection here. So that's not how it played out. I entered the trade very early, and I saw some drawdown. Now, the old me would have sold down here. Panic sold with that candle wick because that was some pretty decent drawdown, and it was past my stop loss. It was past my hard stop loss. Basically, this should have been my stop loss, the bottom of this demand zone, like I mentioned. But as far as a hard stop of how much money you want to lose on one trade, this was well past it. And so I told myself, if you find yourself in this situation and you have a bad entry where you got in for the wrong reasons, you got to stick the trade out. You got to let it play out, and you got to eat the cost. If the drawdown on your account needs to be a lesson to you, and you need to work back slowly. So obviously, it was nothing that was going to end my career or anything like that. But when you're trading futures, it just keeps going. It's not like you have a $300, $500,000 option position where if it goes to zero, that's how much you lose. No, futures just keeps going until you push sell and get out of the trade. So I saw this happen, but I told myself, you got a bad entry, you're going to have to stick to this as your stop loss, unfortunately, bud. That's what I'm telling myself. So lucky for me, this candle right here wicked back up and held. And then once I started seeing higher lows, I stayed in the trade. Higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And I stayed in the trade all the way until the opening candle right here for market open. And as soon as I saw a pop in green, I did a market order and got out of the trade for a little bit of profit. And then it did hit my target. And it pulled back, then re-hit it, and kind of bounced around between these zones all day long. They were very respected. The bottom of my zone was respected again down here for a bounce and a nice rally. But anyway, well, you know, it took from 8:30 to 9:30 of me watching each of these candles and using a lot of mental capital to try to get out of that trade. I considered it a win because, you know, there was a huge swing between selling here and selling here. That saved me a lot of money staying in the trade. Now, it ended up costing me more because I was not prepared to turn around and take this rejection. Like I should have just got in the rejection, but I was way too shaken mentally to compose myself, load the correct options, and take that rejection on SPY. So I didn't do it. And then furthermore, it cost me mentally. I should have been just kind of smacking it around back and forth. I did have a bias for consolidation, but knowing that there was a lot of data this week, FOMC is the following week, I knew there was going to be a lot of volatility. So if you expect a consolidation, expect it to range. And that's what it did. It had about a $6 range on SPY for today. Although there was never really any super trend. It was just super back and forth rangy. And I kind of expected that. So it took me out of my game. I just took what I had. But then later in the day, some setups started to develop that I had been watching. And, I was watching Netflix over 300. So let me just bring that up real quick. Netflix over 300. Let's take a look at what it looked like on Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, Wednesday. I think it was 300 we were watching. Oh, Wednesday, the 8th. Is that correct? Let me check my dates here. Nope, I went back too far. My bad, y'all. Let me get rid of... Oh, yeah, I can remember these drawings. Okay, so Netflix. Netflix fell. I traded Netflix on this Thursday. Came way down. Then this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Here we are. So you can see Netflix recovering and bouncing back and forth. Nice VWAP bounce. And if Netflix jams over 300, I want to take that. So the 300 was right here. Put a line. And as you can see, I wasn't paying attention to this break of 300. But once I saw it bounce at VWAP, then I was in, mentally at least. I really wanted this 300. And just a break and hold of 300 for a move into 3035. Which it gave me. I probably, honestly, if I took that trade, I probably would have sold into strength at the top there and not waited for this pullback. But if you have multiple contracts, it's a great time to scale out, hold runners to target. And that's what happened. It was a perfect trade. I kind of sat on my hands and I watched that trade. And what happened was I started to get some fear of missing out because I saw that trade work out. So at this point, I am ready to trade. So I'm looking around for other trades to take. And the other thing that came to mind was Meta. Meta was super strong, has been strong, has a good news catalyst. So we were looking at the 195 level as well as high of the day all in one. So when that broke, when Meta broke 195, I was looking for it to clear high of the day, which it did, and it held. So I got into a trade to go long, and obviously it pulled back, got stopped out on this candle here. Decent stop out. Trade didn't work out. Later on, continued up Didn't really push too far past where we had originally bought the trade. But as you can see, after hours, this thing was primed for a move, and it's been going ever since. So we were a little bit early. Meta would have been a great swing, although it's very hard to swing in this environment. So anyway, the point is that ES trade took my mental, took me out of my mental game for basically the whole day after trying to catch a trade in the morning. So, moral of the story, have a better trade plan. Stick to your trade plan. One of the things I have circled on my whiteboard is trust yourself and trust your levels. Trust your levels. Let me go back to that Wednesday real quick. And you can see that it's not like I wasn't prepared for what was coming. I was completely prepared to take this trade. I had everything that I needed. I had my zones drawn, demand. Why not take a long position off of this demand? And particularly the best spot to enter this trade probably wouldn't have been on this big red candle. That's aggressive. But when you see it bounce on your level and then come down and then hold the level, well, this retest right there looks good to me. That's where I should have been entering a long position to take profit into here. Okay, now I know. The problem is you FOMO. You have fear of missing out on the move, and you get in early because you see that it was already tested. Well, if that's the case and it doesn't come back, you just miss out on that setup. That's not a trade for you, and that's the way that I need to think. If it doesn't come back and test, because your risk reward is skewed, right? Like, think about it. If this is your profit target, if this is going to be your profit target, if you enter the trade here, look at what you're going to gain versus your stop loss has to be below the demand zone. Look at all this chop. So your drawdown to your stop loss is actually bigger than your profit zone. That's no bueno. Absolutely no bueno. Whereas if you took it down here, your stop loss is right here, below the zone. If it holds below the zone, you're out. Take profit is all the way up here. Beautiful risk to reward. You know, to put it simply, it's basically like a 20-to-1 R. You have a 20-point move, and you're risking basically 1 or 2 points to hold down here. One candle you're risking for all these candles to gain. So that's what I got to keep telling myself. Wait for your levels to hit. If they don't hit, don't worry about it. Look for the next one. And if they don't hit, you know you've got a rejection here. And the reason I was so confident in this rejection is because I didn't expect to give all this move back. I expected it to retrace and then probably consolidate is what it did. And I try not to have a bias on the day, but I think we all going into the beginning of a day, we kind of feel like stock's going up, it's going down, or it's going sideways. And we kind of have that mentality. We try to not let it affect our decision making as little as possible anyway. And, you know, we trade from there. So that's it for this trade recap. I basically broke even on the day because I got a little bit of cash on this trade, but then I lost it on the meta trade, and those are the only 2 trades I took. So again, my name's Jag. I'm just another guy trading. I don't claim to know anything. I make these videos for myself mostly. I hope that it helps some people out there. If you have any questions about my charts, my strategies, leave them in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, because I'm going to be making a lot of these, and I hope they're helpful. I think you can look around YouTube and learn a lot, and then come back to me and my charts and see what I do, because that's basically how I learn. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.